Hey folks, it's Michael Johnson from the Energy Sketch trying out a little bit of a new format here. I was on a trip recently to Philadelphia, New York, and other places, and I'll share more about that in an upcoming episode. But I recorded a few shorts, little YouTube shorts, one particularly around electric rail. So we're going to listen to that now, and I'm going to share also a sort of a little whiteboard that I've prepared with a lot of threads of conversation that emanate from this short. So, hope you enjoy the short. Hey folks, it's Michael Johnson here. Just got off the commuter rail in Philadelphia, coming to see a friend, and it was awesome to be on electric rail. There's the catenaries for the electric rail, and I'm always curious how this whole system works. It looks pretty awesome, and I wonder, my vision there would be actually to have like high capacity grid connections at the same time along these corridors, because they're already you already have exclusive access to the rail corridors. So while you're electrifying the rail, we could be adding like high capacity grid transmission at the same time. And how awesome would that be? Imagine cross Canada electric rail for all that freight along with high capacity grid connections. What do you think? Would this work, or is it just a crazy idea? See you later. Toodaloo. All right, there we go. There's the little short. Thanks for listening. And now we're going to just take you through kind of my thoughts. So here in the middle, we got the kind of theme of today, which was electric rail. And here are a few of the themes and little sort of threads that we could pull on in later episodes. So we talked about the grid particularly, and the need to have these access corridors. So that's part of the problem that we're seeing in installing new high capacity grid transmission, is that those projects are stuck in regulatory sort of purgatory, and there's a lot of local opposition issues around, the local people that are affected by this. And it's important not to just label them as NIMBYs, not in my backyard. There are legitimate concerns here, I believe, which is part of why this idea really seems interesting and potentially just brilliant, because those rail corridors are already kind of exclusive access corridors that have been there for a long time. So how much grid transmission capacity could we build through there? Then there's the whole idea of like electrifying rail, right? And so rail is used for two things, passenger and freight. And it's interesting to notice that like in Europe, a lot of passengers go by rail, and there's a very dense network of high speed, high capacity, high frequency rail infrastructure that's used around Europe for transporting people. But a lot of freight goes by road, I understand, in Europe. And maybe in North America, the picture's a bit different. A lot of freight goes by rail, and passenger rail kind of gets a second tier, third tier kind of access in a sense, and that you're always often waiting for freight trains to pass. And this is an experience that you'll have if you ever ride rail. In Canada, passenger rail, you'll be shunted to a sidetrack while a long freight train goes by. So freight has really priority, and passenger rail is sort of a guest. So interesting to notice that. And the other thing is that today in North America particularly, we transport a lot of energy by rail. And today, here I've shown that today we transport it often in what is called by some these bomb trains. Those are like the DOT 111 rail cars, pressurized vessels. And there have been several disasters, one of them particularly close to our hearts here in Quebec, the Lac Mégantic rail disaster, where a runaway train carrying a mislabeled hazardous mixture of hydrocarbons from the Bakken formation, the shale oil, shale gas formations in Bakken area of North Dakota, was transported on the way to, I believe, the Irving oil refinery, was being transported by rail. And due to a combination of factors, a runaway train went down the hill, derailed in the central town of this small village of Lac Mégantic and exploded. And it was a complete inferno because that stuff was so volatile. And they have these BLEVE explosions, boiling, liquid, expanding, vapor explosions happened. It destroyed the downtown of Mégantic. Quite sad. Quite sad. So that's today how we transport energy also. And in the future, and I've mentioned this in other episodes, in the future we might transport energy in the form of metals like iron that I've mentioned before, and also zinc, magnesium, aluminum. These are also energetic. Energy stored in the metals, but can be transported in inert form, in pellets or powders, very safe to transport. So that's another thread to pull on here, folks. So, folks, in future episodes, we'll pull on some of these threads, and I'd love to hear your comments and your ideas here. And thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time. YouTube.com/@EnergySketch. And episodes typically premiere are at 12:12 p.m. on Mondays. See you later. Toodaloo.